This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be breaking down MBTI and neurodivergence, right? This has been one of the videos me and Christian have had in the chamber for quite a bit since October 15th, so we apologize for not getting it to you guys faster. This is interesting because I think I definitely have two of these that we're going to be going over. These are the more common ones, right? Everybody seems to have more of these in the MBTI community, and there may be some patterns or links. You also get our idea of what we see and what we think about, what does this function? What does this look like? It's hitting more. What functions do you think this is hitting, right?
Keep in mind, we are going to be talking about some sensitive stuff here. If you got one of these disorders, remember these things are on a spectrum and the degree of severity can vary person to person. So don't come for us when we compare it to a personality type. You think, are you trying to say I'm ADHD? Are you trying to say I'm Asperger's? No, we're not, okay? We're just describing kind of like the tendencies, the correlations, what may be there, okay? This is not a clinical diagnosis by any means. So don't come for us, okay?
So we're just gonna be going over the more general ones here, guys. So what is neurodiversity, right? So a neurotypical is a brain within typical range. So that means basically if you have neurodiversity, when Dario Nardi first did his personality assessments, you were not gonna be part of that assessment, right? He excluded basically anybody with neurodivergence in his first set of things, guys. Just to keep the data as clean as he could. I think generally that's gonna be more of the sensors. They generally are more neurotypical. I think maybe there's something with abstract people to where they do have something. I have something myself. Um, so neurodivergent refers to the whole range of neurological functions across the whole population. People who might now see themselves or be described as neurodiverse were seen as suffering from a medical condition or disorder or from some form of learning disability, deficit, or impairment. I have a learning disability. I do have dyslexia. I'm part of this dyslexia camp. Was diagnosed in third grade. Um, Personality type and neurodiversity are not the same thing, and the MBTI assessment should not be used as a diagnostic tool. Christian talked about this earlier. However, there are some links. All right, Christian, go for the ADHD, bro.
All right. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. Mercer says that I have this. Okay. He says I'm an ADHD person. Basically, people with ADHD can seem restless, may have trouble with concentration and attention, and or may act on impulse more than other people. Some people with ADHD are more inattentive, not paying attention to detail and not listening. Some are more hyperactive or impulsive. ADHD may certainly seem like a poor fit for more traditional work environments. Mercer calls this a lack of TE or having low TE. The results of a doctoral thesis and two large scale studies suggest that people with preference for extroverted intuition or NE in a particular are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD and show behaviors typical of ADHD. What do I think about this? Because ADHD is like, the preferred thing to diagnose everybody with. But my thing is like, okay, we kind of live in a society that kind of asks a lot from us, probably like beyond the norm of what humans should be able to do, as far as like just sitting down and being in one place, doing one thing, repetitive tasks, etc. I mean, you got to think in the old days of humanity, probably ADHD people had a role. They were probably very useful in certain roles, but because now we want everybody to just sit down in front of a freaking computer screen, now everybody got ADHD. You know what I mean? So Marissa, what do you think about that?
Oh well, I mean, I'm just gonna make fun of some of the people. I'm just gonna have fun here, especially those fucking ENTPs, fidgeting, never staying still, talking too much, interrupting, and not staying seated. Motherfuckers be you know, you be like, damn, boy, hey, I spy ADHD. I'm joking, guys, but you guys know it's more the extroverted intuition. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the world is trying to trying to compare people to um the SJs, right? So if you can't do what SJs do, they're gonna say something's wrong with you, right? I think these people have different skills and different assets that they provide, and a lot of them come out later in life because you deal with these disorders or whatnot, which I don't really think is more of a disorder. It's just like, hey man, you got extrovert intuition or you got strong SE, Later on in life, you may be more creative, right? You may go into more, when you're an entrepreneur, that may come back to help you, right? Um,
Yeah, well,
I
that's the
think
thing. It's like we're trying to shoehorn everything or everyone into the same path. So then, of course, like people who are different because okay, you're comparing this individual to the standard, but who determines the standard essentially is just like the majority of
education.
people, the majority, right? Whatever is more common, that's the standard. And then you compare, for example, somebody who has more extroverted intuition to that standard. Of course, they're gonna fail that test. Then you set up systems basically geared towards the standard or the majority of people, and then you just leave the people that fall by the wayside. That's why when you see them like exit that system and then go perform somewhere else, they do a lot better. You know,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, it's society kind of fails some people by creating these systems that don't include personalities like these or people who have ADHD, let's say, or something like that. You know.
And guys, remember there's like two different types of like ADHD. I forget exactly what they're termed, right? But there's one that's more of the restless one, and then there's one with the active mind, right? They could be sitting still, but their mind's like all over the place. So I would say that's more of the INFP and the INTP, right? The NE parent. It's all over the place, but they're just sitting still.
Hmm.
Like they can't, they might have trouble like focusing or whatnot. But that ENTP and ENFP, or they be dancing and shit. You be like, bro, what the fuck going on? I remember I used to fuck me. We used to fuck with Christian because whenever you play a fucking video game, motherfucker dancing with the controller and shit. Like, bro, what the fuck you doing? Like, bro, that's something wrong with you, bro. That shit ain't normal, boy. You need to get checked out. Like, But guys, the people with like higher NI and TE and SI probably less likely to have ADHD, guys. It just is what it is. You can pick up on some of these patterns, guys. You can pick up on some of these patterns. It's
Hmm.
there,
And keep in
unfortunately.
mind, like I mentioned in the first part of the presentation, the severity of the quote unquote disorder or whatever difference may vary person to person. So some people, this might really affect their life in a major way. And if that's you, then I would say it qualifies as a disorder. But I think the problem is everyone tries to, degree of difference, they claim it as the disorder. That's why it's like over diagnosed in a way. It's
Mhm.
because they're just calling everything ADHD. So.
Yeah. I'll never forget when I was a kid. My older brother, he was just telling me because they tried to put him on Ritalin, whatnot when we were a kid. Motherfucker never take his medicine. You already know you can't make an ENTP do what they don't want to do. But he would be telling me, "Hey man, I'm looking at the shadow over here and how that shadow is doing that and doing this." And now that I know the language of that, I can understand what's actually going on inside of his brain. That's just extroverted intuition, right? And if like if you looked at our breakdown with Dario Nardi, you know that they have like the Christmas tree where it's like lighting up, their brain just lights up all over the place, right? And they're connecting and making connections through things. And that's just AD that comes out as ADHD manifesting outwardly, unfortunately. Probably like Christian said, they say in the past, when humanity was not as industrialized as we are now, this played a bigger, a more important role than people think. Like I think, for instance, some of your best warriors might be ADHD people in the past. So, big ups to you guys. Don't look at everything as a curse, guys. Over here at Mongolia Mindset, we are on the upswing. Like we don't give a fuck. Whatever we got, we're gonna be better.
All right, so autism, also Asperger's syndrome falls into this umbrella. Okay, they find it hard to communicate and interact with other people, and find it hard to understand how other people think or feel. Some may find things like bright lights or loud noises overwhelming, stressful, or uncomfortable. Some can take longer to understand information. Now, autism has some strengths, though: a high degree of attention to detail, precision, and accuracy, memorizing and learning information quickly, in depth experience and knowledge in specific areas, and they can be logical for long periods of time when motivated. They also have a degree of creativity with a different viewpoint and novel solutions, thinking outside of the norm. They also learn in a visual way and have good sense of direction. Okay. Types correlated with autism are INTPs, INTJ, and ISTJ. So I've had several experiences with people with Asperger's and autism. Actually, one of my roommates in college had Asperger's. And basically, what it causes is that these people seem like they have a lack of social intelligence because they can't understand how people think or feel. They will do things that would be considered outside of the norm or maybe taboo. Okay. They will behave in social ways that kind of infringe on people's boundaries because they don't know where the line is. Okay. They don't know where the boundary is because of this Asperger syndrome. Now, me and that person became actually really good friends during college because I'm pretty open minded. But there were several instances where he did things that pissed me off. Okay, but at the end of the day, he didn't know why it pissed me off. I had to explain it to him. But once I explained it to him, he got it or whatever. Now, there's like I keep mentioning, there's degrees of severity, right? Like it's a spectrum. That's what's autism spectrum. Now I work with somebody. I'm pretty sure this person has Asperger's. Like this person, like I walked in the break room and I said something to him. He literally just like freaking like straight up ignored me. I literally talked directly to him, and it was like I wasn't even in the room, right? And he has like several instances of him doing stuff to other coworkers where it's just like, okay, that's a little off, right? And I'm pretty sure it's because of this right here, Asperger's. Okay. So interesting affliction. If you want to study more on it, could be interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, when I was reading David Kersey, they say a lot of the NTs are afflicted with some part of themselves being on the spectrum. Um, you will see more or less from different types. I think the usually the hallmark of Asperger's, unfortunately, is going to be aligned to the INTP, right? Unfortunately, they seem to the SE tricksters, man, just like fucking not on planet Earth a lot of times. Um, but they also are so bad with like social events and things of that nature. But they're good at, like, being specific in knowledge, you know? People talk of like I said up there, some can take longer to understand information. I think to a large degree, it might just be TI, right? They're trying to understand actually the information that they're getting. They're not just taking the information and running with it. They're trying to understand it and unravel that information. With the memorizing and stuff like that, you have some of those INTPs that just Jesus Christ, bro, their memory is just insane. The biggest problem I've seen with autism or Asperger's is people have trouble in new situations. That's where it really flares up. But a lot of these people do some of the greatest inventions, like Temple Grandin. Um, whatnot. Elon Musk, he talks about it. Um, but like you'll see it. I don't think it's a big enough problem, guys. I feel like you just have to accept yourself, right? You got gifts and you got curses, pluses and minuses. You always gonna hear that from me. That's always pluses and minuses to everything.
Now,
Okay.
let me add this to the attention to detail because this is something that's really prevalent in Asperger's. So basically, for example, my roommate in college, he's was studying to be an engineer. He would like obsess about the minute details of even like playing Smash Bros, right? Like playing a video game. Like he would obsess over the minute details of the game, or like when he did a project, he would obsess about like the circuitry, like it has to be specifically in a place. Okay, this is all Asperger's symptoms. Also, like my coworker now, he obsesses over the job so much, like the laboratory, like the minute like rules and stuff like that. For example, when he does COVIDs, it has to be exactly like a minute, you know what I mean? Like and he doesn't like to leave the thing in the tube too long because it might be off policy. He's obsessing over rules, obsessing over processes.
I
Okay.
might be OCD, Christian. I might be
No, this,
OCD.
this is Asperger's for sure. This is Asperger's. So these are things that you can see in Asperger's basically. The attention to detail and the accuracy needs to be on point. Okay. And they really care about it. It affects them to a high degree. So
I would say, like, generally speaking, these guys usually have very high IQ, low EQ, unfortunately. Dyscalculia, right? Specific and persistent difficulty in understanding numbers, which can lead to a diverse range of difficulties with mathematics. Those with dyscalculia may also have trouble understanding shapes, distances, or volume, or have difficulty with time, direction, recalling schedule, sequence of events, or financial planning. People with dyscalculia often see situations in a holistic way, leading to effective strategic decisions and creative problem solving. They often have a great love of words and have a high degree of practical ability. No links to type as of now. So when I'm looking at that, could be wrong here, but it sounds like somebody who's really low in TITE, right? Because it says difficulty understanding numbers, difficulty with math, um, trouble understanding shapes, distances, volume, planning, planning, direction, schedule, sequence of events. So it sounds like someone isn't really strong in TE or TI here, guys. And then we have mine, right? We have dyslexia. Okay. This is mine. I was in third grade when they diagnosed me with dyslexia. Funny thing is I had the highest fucking grades in class, and those bitches came up to me and was like, "Your son's dyslexic." And those motherfuckers made me go to a school where motherfuckers were running around fucking naked. Can you imagine what I fucking went through? There was people on walkie-talkies talking about little Johnny's running around fucking naked. Me, genius.
Fucking
Um,
naked.
so dyslexia, well, learning to read. Children with dyslexia find it difficult to recognize the different sounds that make up words and relate things to written letters. So when I was a kid, I really used pattern recognition a lot,
Mhm,
or like I would listen to what somebody else said to how they said a word, and then I would memorize how they said it, right?
mhm,
And like sounding out words was very tough for me. So we had like in the school, they would literally make you like use the beginning of the words and then the ending of the words and like, that type of thing that could help you. Back then I
mhm.
thought it was fucking stupid. I was like, bro, why do they got me fucking here, bro? They kicked me out after a year because I was too smart. But still, I was like, why the fuck am I here, bro? Like, stop playing with me. Um, as a result, people with dyslexia may read and write very slowly, confuse the order of letters and words, be confused by letters that look similar, write letters the wrong way, such as B and D, and have poor or inconsistent spelling. My spelling is atrocious. I
Mhm.
swear to God, man, I'm a grown ass man. I don't know if it's I before E, E before I. I don't give a fuck. Keep it moving. That's what comes in that dyslexia part. And the way that they actually caught me for dyslexia because they couldn't figure out that I had dyslexia because I had very high grades, like the highest grades in the class. They got me on that fucking speed reading, right? When they like have you read a certain amount of words in a fucking certain time, that's how they fucking expose me right there, right? I'm fucking pissed. That's how they got my ass. That's how they got my ass, okay?
Oh,
So
Mercer used to get mad at me for knowing words because I know two languages. He's like, the only reason you know that word is because you speak Spanish, you
yeah,
little
whatever, bro.
bitch. I was like,
Yeah,
man, don't be mad. Don't be mad at my skills, bitch. Out of here.
well, so when it comes to like that type of thing, man, it's just it's tough, but like you can it depends on how you are on the spectrum, right? Obviously my dyslexia wasn't to a point where it was impairing me, but it was something I did have to deal with. So Avengers over other people in areas such as big picture thinking, right? So that helps me with my big picture thinking, and that might be the reason why I'm so big picture focused, right? Like Christian tell you straight up, Mercy's always big picture, big outcome. Take that big outcome. So lateral thinking and creative problem solving, like we had to, um, as a kid, you had to do different things to get the same result as everybody else. So it makes you creative with your problem solving, right? Because it's just a skill that you keep doing over time. They can have an intuitive understanding of how things work and a strength in visualizes rather than verbalizing, right? If you hear me on this channel, I always talk about visualization, right? And that comes back to my dyslexia. I didn't even know that, right? That's the reason why I'm like, I can visualize this, right? And I can visualize it. So with dyslexia, you might be seeing more of the abstract types with dyslexia. That's just my thinking of it.
Mhm,
Um, like you'll see there's a lot of CEOs, I think they said like not CEOs, but 34% of entrepreneurs with dyslexic. They also like you look at famous people with dyslexia like Kevin O'Leary, he's also an ENTJ. The guy from Charles Schwab, he talked about having dyslexia. I think he's also an ENTJ. You talking about Mark Cuban, he talks about having dyslexia, another ENTJ, right? So I don't know if there's a correlation with ENTJs or they don't know, but I might be there. No studies directly link psychological type and dyslexia were found. Dyslexia children score lower on open-mindedness, conscientiousness, and agreeableness
Mhm.
than non-dyslexic children. Dyslexic children are more introverted than non-dyslexic children,
So,
right?
so as we go through this presentation, it's kind of, because basically it would be easy to say, okay, this type leads to this disorder. I think it could be the other way around, actually. Like if you have the disorder, it might lead you to think a
Mhm.
certain way, a way that's more effective. So it kind of shoehorns you into a type of thinking, right? Like you mentioned. So like you had to think big and you had to take creative ways to figure out
Mhm.
problem solving. So it kind of developed that abstract mindset. It kind of puts you in a type in a way,
Yeah.
or it could lead you to a type essentially.
Yeah. I just think as a kid I just had to, because I couldn't really sound out the words. I had to be creative with how I was going to digest those words or get to those words. Because one thing I hate is being called stupid. That drives me fucking up the wall. So that's one of the biggest things that I care about. So with that, you have to find creative ways to do that, right? So that's why my pattern recognition is like off the fucking charts when it comes to that, because when I was a kid, that is how I literally got through school. A lot of times with pattern recognition because all the shit didn't, with dyslexia people, the brain in the language centers are lower, right? It doesn't, but it's in other areas. Like that's one thing about dyslexia. So in the language centers, like learning languages or whatnot, may be tough for them, but like math and all those other things might be, or spatial rearrangement or things of that nature come a lot easier to them because the brain has higher neurons over there. So the brain has the same amount of chemistry, but just in one area it's lower than the normal people, and higher in other areas,
So
right? That's
you probably were better at organic chemistry then.
Yeah, that was easy because straight pattern recognition.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love organic chemistry.
All right, cool. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on.
All right, guys. So dyspraxia. This is when I made this PowerPoint. I was like, "Holy shit,
Mercer
it's deep."
believes he has dyspraxia.
I swear I got
I
the
think
shit.
he's
And,
just he's
Christian
bullshitting.
think it's cap. I think it's 100% fact. He just don't. He want me like, "Oh no, bro, you ain't got this shit." He just don't know how much like work I be doing, bro. He just think everybody got, his level of coordination. So I've talked about this countless times, right? When we're coming to like working out or anything like that. My brother was like, I've never seen a motherfucker this bad. With like working out or anything, right? And I think it goes back to maybe dyspraxia or whatnot. Like when I was working out, one arm came up before the other one, fucking squatting, leg coming up before the other one, couldn't do lunges. People don't even know how much work I have to put into like motor skills. Like when I was a kid, I couldn't catch the football, couldn't do shit with sports. They don't even know how many mindless amount of hours I put into the shit. Like people don't even fucking know. Um, because I'm resilient. But dyspraxia affects movement and coordination, such as tasks requiring balance, playing sports, or learning to drive a car. A la Mercer failed his first driving test.
Which a
you want
lot
to
of people fail, by the way. That's
bitch, shut
not
the fuck up.
that
I was the only person in my
uncommon.
family to fail that shit.
Bro, a lot of
But
people fail their first driving test. They can't do the parallel parking or whatever, and they fail the first.
no, 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 no. But this was like a course. I was like in driver, like
Driver's
in
ed.
high school. They have a driving class.
Yeah, I know.
And you go and they actually teach you how to drive, and then you take a test. And I failed it.
Shit, I should have
Couldn't do a
took that.
3-point turn. I
I
couldn't
should
do
have
a
took
3-point turn. Even though we were like in the school and
parking
learning the
lot.
shit, it just wasn't, bro. I'm just bad with motor skills, bro. I just really am. But guys, that like I said, I never give up, no matter what. I'll never forget that shit. I failed that bitch, and that shit was around fucking Christmas. And I was so fucking motivated. I came home, my mom had me driving fucking everywhere, and I came through and I was laughing when I hit that 3-point turn the next time. Bitch, fuck you. All right. Because I'm always gonna come back and I'm gonna come back 2 times stronger. People with dyspraxia often have to overcome obstacles growing up, leading to a degree of resilience and determination. Here we go. Having to carry out tasks in different ways means that they often bring a new and creative view to problems, and they can be very empathetic and caring. I don't know about empathetic and caring for me. No current links empirical to type. So for me, I would say this is somebody who probably has low SE and SI. Might be more afflicted with this, more lower SE and SI. Obviously, Christian has higher SE, so bitch probably figured out how the fuck you failed. My brother laughed at me, but it is what it is. All
Bro,
right,
I didn't
Christian.
fail my driver's test.
I know you did, bitch.
All right, obsessive compulsive disorder. I believe maybe my mother has this, okay? So, maybe not, I don't know how high a degree, but definitely the symptoms kind of, parallel a little bit. So, anyways, an obsessive compulsive disorder, a person has obsessive thoughts and compulsive behavior, obsession. They have unpleasant thoughts, images, and urges that repeatedly enter a person's mind, causing feelings of anxiety, disgust, and unease. So then they do repetitive behaviors. They're compelled to do these to relieve the anxiety. Okay. Some examples of OCD is like cleaning your hands all the time, checking to see if the doors are locked, counting and ordering stuff in the pantry 1,000 times. Okay. Now, like I said, degrees of behavior, right? Like my mother's not like, she doesn't have to organize everything all the time, but she was cleaning constantly. She was like getting home and always vacuuming every day. It's like how many times you have to vacuum a week for the floor to be freaking clean, right? But she would vacuum like every day. Okay. They're very detail conscious, even perfectionists, good at meeting deadlines. Okay. My mom, she's a lab manager, okay, and she obsesses about getting like perfect scores in the freaking inspections, and she wants to have like her performance reviews to be perfect and stuff like that. She's obsessive over those things. They're more likely to have a judging rather than a perceiving preference. Okay, they're usually like introversion, thinking, judging, and to a less extent sensing, correlated with the obsessive compulsive scale. Okay, and neuroticism is correlated positively with OCD, agreeableness negatively. Okay, my mom is not very agreeable. Okay, my mom is like she kind of wants to do what she wants to do, and it's hard to get her to like conform to what you're saying or whatever. And she
Spoiler
does,
alert, Christian's mom's INTJ.
yeah, yeah. And she has I think she has a degree of neuroticism. Obviously, I think she would agree if you were to ask her, honestly. So, but hey, these people, they have a place in society because if you put them in a role where it requires a degree of obsession and you want the role to be perfect, then they will get that shit done. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, a lot of people looking at it and kind of like laughing. Strong SI and strong TE, like the types is more associated with INTJ, ISTJ, ISFJ, right? So what I'm picturing here when I'm seeing this, I'm seeing somebody who is a strickler for the process, a strickler. Like people like laughing and shit, but Kobe Bryant, probably OCD. And that's the reason why he became one of the best basketball players ever, right? He's a strickler for the fucking process. They can pick out anything. A lot of these famous coaches that you see probably have this shit because they're a strickler for the process. Even if you score, let's say for instance, you score a point or something, they could tell you what the fuck you did wrong, even though you got the outcome. They can still like, hey, that when you threw that football, this foot was in a bad rotation, blah blah blah. You even though you scored a touchdown, you still fucked up, right? Kind of Bill Belichick, motherfucker, Nick Saban, right? So you can kind of see these like people may look at it another way, but I'm always going to look at the positive behind it, right? So these people are obsessive about what they do, so this can help them become the best in their field, right?
Right, right.
And can help other people strive for perfection, right? Because they can see something wrong that you did wrong every fucking time on your fucking ass, man.
Yeah, the only thing about
Dude.
this is the crippling anxiety. That's what you're gonna have to measure. That's what you're gonna have to deal with for the rest of your life. Because basically, an OCD person will have like these what my mom used to describe as like a control loop. Essentially, it's like a circle of control, right? They're trying to control all variables. They want everything to be exactly where it needs to be. And if anything falls out of line, crippling anxiety. They have to solve it immediately because they can be overwhelmed if things start to add up. Like if things go out of place here, there, now all of a sudden mental breakdown because OCD, it's like anxiety is ramped up to 10. Whereas for me, maybe it would have caused me a level of 2 anxiety. An OCD person would be 8 to 10. You know what I mean? So they are constantly trying to manage the environment to prevent this anxious thoughts from basically crippling them. Okay. So kind of hard to
Mhm.
deal with. I'm empathetic for it. I don't exactly know how you could solve that. This people like that would need probably professional help at that point to deal with it. Okay, so
All right, guys. So we have Tourette syndrome. Tourette syndrome is
Mercer
a
says I
condition that,
have Tourette syndrome,
bitch, you do not. Shut the
which I
fuck
do
up.
not. But Mercer said this is what Christian got. I ain't got this. Come on.
Hey, you a fucking clown. Tourette syndrome is a condition that, well, Billie Eilish has Tourette syndrome. Is a condition that causes a person to make involuntary sounds and movements called tics. These may be physical, such as blinking or eye rolling, jerking, or head or limbs, touching objects and other people, or verbal, such as grunting, coughing, tongue clicking, or saying random words and phrases. Although swearing is often depicted as a symptom, only a small percentage of people with Tourette syndrome do this. Suppressing tics takes energy and can be tiring. There is, however, some evidence that learning to do this give people with Tourette's improve time processes and greater cognitive control.
Hmm.
They may also have an average to superior grammatical skills. Only thing showing a link is introversion. Introversion.
Hmm.
Okay. I ain't really got much to say there, guys. On that, I don't think Christian got much to say.
I mean, all I gotta
Yeah,
say is that I'm amazed at the amount of differences and different afflictions there are. But it's like I said in the beginning, we're trying to get everybody into a box, right? And any difference is like we treat it as a disorder. Now, of course, there are degrees of affliction. There are a crippling amount of affliction that's going to affect you. Then I would call it a disorder. But there are people that are just different. They think different, they behave different, and just because they don't fit the majority of the people doesn't mean that they need to be ostracized for whatever reason, you know?
yeah. I mean, I'll just say, don't think about everything as a curse. When I was a kid, I did think of dyslexia as a curse, because it made me feel as though I was a freak, right? But later on in life, I understood that I had certain gifts that other people didn't have, right? So there's always, pluses and minuses to everything that happened, right? So think about that, and as you guys know, awareness is king, right? So when you're aware of these things, you have more degree of control over the situation, right? If I'm like, shit, damn, bro, we gotta do some motor skill shit. I'm already planning on how I'm gonna go about that, right? Christian doesn't even know that. He just sitting there like, oh shit, Mercy did this perfect. But as soon as I see some shit like that, I'm already thinking like boom, 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 ahead
Hmm.
on things of that nature. So awareness is king, but I didn't know back then that I probably had that dyspraxia, but now I know that. But like we say, knowing, you get more degree of control over it. You can anticipate, you can make certain movements, right? Um, and remember, like some of these things help you later on in life. Maybe hard early on in life, but later on in life, it becomes a competitive advantage against other people, right? And then people say, "Oh, I'm not like you," or "You're special." It's like, well, bitch, I wasn't special when I was young. I was getting my ass kicked.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah. And guys, comment below if you have any of these disorders or whatnot, and how you've overcome them. That's important just to see. To see the stories. People want to see positive stories, guys. I'm not a big fan of motherfuckers crying. I'm never gonna be a big fan of people crying. Get over it. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys heard
So,
my funny story about a motherfucker running around naked.
well, I wouldn't say get over it because it's not something that you're gonna get over. I say, I would say just focus on improving, and eventually you'll come out on top, uh,
Mhm.
because it's just things that you were born with that make you different. The thing is, like, people always focus on the physical things they were born with that make you different, and they don't realize, like, there's physical things, but there's also mental things that are under the hood that make people different as well. You know, but of course, everything in society now is geared towards looks and the physical, so we forget about those a lot of the times. But there's a way forward if you just put in the work. Mercer's a testament to that. He put in the work,
Mhm.
and now people can't even tell he got dyslexia. So
Yeah, yeah. So,
mhm.
guys, give us some likes, share the video, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
All right, peace out.